I'm Dominic from askmediy.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install 220 volt outlet. But just keep one thing in mind. This is for the United States only, for the wiring, the code, the colors, and all that. United States of America only. Other countries don't know, so I'm not showing them to you, okay? 220 volt. Pretty simple. You have a 110 volt outlet that you would normally have for your toaster or TV, whatever it may be. That's working on a single phase, only grabbing 110 volt from each phase. And that's fine and dandy, but sometimes you need a little extra kick for whatever, and that's going to use for 220 volt. That's going to take both phases and bring them together, okay? So just keep in mind, 220 volt, it's even more dangerous than the 110 volt that you've been playing with. You ever get shocked with 110 volt and you go, ooh, well, you were lucky, okay? And it scared the crap out of you. 220 volt, you're gonna know about it, all right? So make sure you really pay attention. If you're uncertain, don't touch it, honestly, okay? Now, this panel I have set up behind me here, it's just one to show you. It's not live or anything like that. It's just really for this video only, okay? If you open up your panel, you take the cover off and you see a bunch of wires and it really looks nasty and stuff like that, maybe even a mouse got into it or something, you know what? We'll leave it alone, because chances are the person that was in there before didn't know what they were doing, and you can make more problems just by looking at it the wrong way, okay? Anyway, let's go back to the 220 volt. Let me get a close-up of this and I'll show you a little bit more detailed. All right, let's take a quick look at a panel. All right, first of all, again, there's no main wire coming in. There's not feeding this panel whatsoever, so the panel's dead, okay? This is where two big wires would be coming in, which is supplying the panel, your panel with all your power. Down below here, I have an empty spot where I want to put the 220 volt. Now, if you look right here, you got these buzz bars, okay? Each one carries 110 volts, but they're alternating, okay? So if they're both on the same side, well, you wouldn't want to use those, because as much as you're going to get is 110 volts. So you got grabbing from one phase and a different phase. 110 together is going to be 220. Up over here, we have a bus bar, which is carrying our ground wires. All right, now you'll be able to see in your panel that all the grounds are already going there. Find an empty spot, and that's where you're going to put your ground wire when we get to it. Quickly, here's the breaker we're going to be putting in. Now the breaker is a 220 volt breaker. It's a 20 amp breaker as well, because you want to match that with whatever wire you're using and the outlet itself, okay? Or if it's hardwired. Both very important that you do match it. This side here, this is where the power is coming out, and this is where we're going to be putting both our hot leads for our 220 volt outlet and, of course, the right one. Okay, so now you used the right gauge wire now, don't forget that one. And you went and you ran that wire from one side of the house to the other, or wherever it may be, okay? For us, I went a foot. Not a big run, pretty easy. Okay, look at the wires. See, again, this is a 20 amp circuit, so we're using a 12 gauge wire. It's a 2-wire, so we're gonna have a white wire, which would normally be our our neutral on a 110 outlet. And we have our black wire, which is our hot wire, which would be 110 volt, right? Regular outlet, this is 110, blah, 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 yankee. Okay, that's not the case because it's 220 volt. So it's gonna stay hot. And this one here, the neutral, the white one, is also now gonna be hot, okay? So don't mistake this. It's gonna be hot, a little shaky. Way on the other side, the same exact coming out of our outlet. Of course, because it's the same wire, right? Okay, check it out. 220 volt outlet, 20 amp, take a look, see? On the screws. Now, okay, this is my outlet, yours could look a little different, whatever it may be, okay, different brand, whatever. 2 screws carrying for the power on both sides. One wire goes here, one wire goes there. Again, 110, 220. One wire for the ground. For whatever reason you don't have the ground wire, whatever, don't do it. Only do it if you have the ground. 110 is bad enough, 220, got a problem. So make sure you have the ground. Connect the ground to the green screw. In our case, the green screw doesn't have to be green, okay? And your 2 hot leads. Breaker. What I like to do, I like to run the wire, go where I'm gonna bring it. In this case, I'm gonna be bringing it right down this way. I like to bend the wire, make it, clean it up a little bit. In this case, I have a little bit too much, so I would just cut that, clean it. Just the cleaner, the more organized, it's a lot better. Come on, electric, right? Okay, let me give you a close-up on the wiring on both of these. And okay, now I got my 220 volt breaker into the panel, and I have both wires that are going to the outlet connected to both screws, each pole of the breaker, okay? And I also, no matter what, I always leave the breaker off until I'm 100%, and I looked over everything 500 times and I made sure it's good. The wires are in under the screw and they are nice and tight. Not tight enough where I'm gonna break the breaker, but nice and tight, okay? Let's go over to the outlet here and show you how we have this, okay? Now, I have the ground wire, like I was saying earlier, on the ground screw, and each hot wire onto each screw of each of the outlet, okay? Now, when you put the wire in, make sure you wrap it clockwise the way the screw is going to tighten, okay? Real important. Make sure that you don't have any of the insulation under the screw, and again, that it's nice and tight, okay? Because if it's loose, it may work good for a little while on something that's not drawing so much power, but if you put something that requires a lot more power, a lot more amperage, and you have a loose connection, well, it's definitely going to have a problem, okay? Now, before we go ahead and turn this on and we put the outlet into the box, what we're going to want to do, and it is by code in a lot of states, we're going to wrap this with just electrical tape. Let me wrap that and show you what it looks like. All right, simple as that. I got the electrical tape and I just wrapped it around it just like that. I didn't go over the screws that we're going to be securing it with, obviously. Okay, but one of the reasons for it is that when you go to grab the outlet out of the box and say if it was live, well, you have a little bit extra protection there, okay, with the electrical tape like that. And again, this is 220 volt. So when you go and you grabbed it like that, remember where those wires are and those screws, right? There it is, eyeballs, boom, pop out of your head, okay? Now we'll secure this into the outlet. We'll put a cover on it, which is very important, and then we'll come back to the panel and we'll turn it on, okay? But one more trick to show you. Okay, check this out. I don't have a cover for it because it's just my sample, okay? It's not gonna go live ever. Trust me. All right, check this out. After you went, checked everything looks good, all the wires tight, all that stuff, and you went and you turned that new breaker on, okay? Now, everything's energized, okay? What you wanna do is get a voltage tester. You know, it's 2 little leads on it, okay? Now, this is now your ground, okay? Just remember this one down here, your ground? That's your ground. And each phase. So you wanna test. Go from here to there. Should have 110 volt. Go from here to there. The other side should have 110 volt. That means good deal. You did so far so good. Okay. But remember I was talking earlier about grabbing 2 phases on that panel. Make sure you're not grabbing the one, which is kind of unlikely, but hey, it can happen. Okay. Go between both of these, which is test both of them, just like that. And you should have 220 volts or something pretty damn close to it. Once you have that, plug in whatever you made the outlet for. Maybe a high-powered toaster or something. I don't know. Hey, guess what? We're all done doing a 220 volt outlet. Of course, my wall was all opened and I already had the wire in, so it only took me a couple seconds to do. So watch my videos as many times as you want. Who cares? It's free. And just be careful, okay? If you're scared of getting shocked and you really don't know what you're doing, don't do it. I mean, just don't. If you're looking to do this to save a lot of money, because the electrician wanted $1 million, no you do this, all right? Because any idiot can do it. I won't say any, but most of us. Get the wire and make the run yourself. If it's a far run, like out of the basement to the attic or something, do it yourself for the most part. That's a lot of time, and you can save yourself just a lot of money on that. Put the outlet box in, put the wire through it, do all that stuff. But when it comes to hooking up for the outlet and to the panel, if you're really not sure, well, what's gonna take an electrician? You're gonna charge you a service charge, an hour, save a crap load of money, right? Remember, 220 volts, it will kill you. It will shock you. Be careful. I'm Dominic from askmediy.com. Thanks for watching.